Thanks for trusting MTN. I'm Tim McGonigal. We begin tonight with an update on Montana's primary election. The Montana Supreme Court ruling today that the current rule on counting absentee ballots will stand for the all-male primary election next week. And that means to be counted, a ballot must be received at the county election office by 8 p.m. on Election Day next Tuesday. The court's 5-2 decision blocked last week's order from a district judge that said ballots need only be postmarked by next Tuesday to be counted. District Judge John Harris of Billings made his ruling in a lawsuit brought by Democratic Party groups who said the current deadline can disenfranchise some voters. Secretary of State Corey Stapleton and Attorney General Tim Fox, both Republicans, asked the High Court to block Harris's order and reinstate the current deadline. The High Court majority agreed, saying voter instructions sent with ballots May 8th made it clear that they must be returned by Election Day. Montana is in the midst of its first statewide all-male ballot election. The Supreme Court said it will hear an appeal of Harris's order later and decide whether it should stand for the general election in November. As of last night, almost 237,000 Montanans had already submitted their primary election ballot. The election features several high-profile contested party primaries, including for U.S. House, Governor, and Senate, and Attorney General. Well, a major change is coming to Montana's medical marijuana system next week, as patients will be officially untethered and free to use any provider in the state. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian looks at what this step will mean for cardholders and dispensaries.
For years, Montana patients who get medical marijuana from a dispensary have had to choose a single provider to go to. Provider J.J. Thomas says he's never believed that was the best option.
No one wants to eat at McDonald's every day over and over and over and over again when, 1,000 different places make hamburgers, right? So it's the same with medication or anything else. People want variety. They want to shop in different places. They want accessibility.
Thomas owns the Higher Standard dispensaries, with locations in Helena, Missoula, Butte, and Dillon. He says he's pleased to see the state untethering cardholders, allowing them to buy from any licensed provider in the state. The Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services has announced it will implement the change next Tuesday, June 2nd. Last year, the Montana legislature approved a medical marijuana reform bill that called for untethering patients by the end of June. DPHHS leaders say it has taken time to make the necessary rule changes and system upgrades.
Getting that tracking in place that allows a provider to know how much a cardholder has purchased previous to walking in their door, without also giving that provider details of all the purchases that were made at other vendors or other providers.
Leaders say the change should remove some of the obstacles that may keep patients from getting their medication.
Obviously, these patients have developed relationships with their providers, and where those relationships are good, I don't foresee those changing, but it does allow people who are traveling, if they have to have an extended period of time where they're spending time with family in another part of the state, they have the ability to access medicine if they need it.
Thomas says he's concerned some providers may not be able to increase their production fast enough to meet demand. But overall, he sees untethering as a change for the better.
But I truly believe that if you've been doing a great job all these years and you've been taking care of people, there's no reason people aren't going to continue to shop you. I feel like everyone's going to be just fine, and it's the best thing that could happen to the industry in a very long time.
In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
The new medical marijuana law sets daily and monthly purchase limits for cardholders, but because of the COVID-19 emergency, the state has temporarily suspended the daily limits so patients can make fewer trips and limit their exposure. Well, some people have tried to draw comparisons between COVID-19 and influenza, but with the United States crossing 100,000 COVID-related deaths, health experts say it's clear COVID has a far more devastating impact. The CDC has estimated there were at least 24,000 deaths related to influenza during the recent flu season in the U.S. More than 35,000 died from COVID in the last month alone. Montana hasn't been hit nearly as hard as the rest of the nation, with the state just announcing the 17th death related to the disease, and there have been 26 deaths related to influenza in state. DPHHS says a key point to understand about the two viruses is that we have the tools to effectively combat influenza. All we have is social distancing for COVID.
Well, there isn't a vaccine for COVID-19. There isn't an antiviral treatment that's readily available like there is for influenza, which is Tamiflu. We definitely are seeing nationwide more people who are infected and hospitalized with, with deaths included due to COVID compared to influenza.
Montana has also seen a much smaller number of COVID cases even compared to our neighboring states. The state is currently at 45 cases per 100,000 people. Idaho, Wyoming, and the Dakotas are all at least 3 times that amount. Well, Great Falls residents and Little Shell tribal members will have more COVID-19 testing options come Friday. A drive-through clinic will take place May 29th and 30th at the Little Shell Chippewa Tribe Cultural Center. Vice Chairman Clancy Sievertson says the service is in partnership with the Governor's Office, Alluvian Health, and the Montana National Guard. The Governor's Office is providing the testing kits, with Alluvian Health administering supplies to drivers. He hopes to see tribal members over the 2-day event.
Around the Great Falls area, we've got a lot of members, so hopefully they'll, if they want to make sure they don't have any issues with it or whatever, they can show up, and hopefully they will and get tested, and then we can move on, like I said.
The drive-through COVID-19 testing takes place Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We have more details on our websites. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Montana announced a $100,000 fund to the Montana Community Foundation. The foundation is part of the Montana Relief Fund, which supports Montanans in need of financial support due to the COVID-19 pandemic, including nonprofit organizations. As of today, that grant brings the grand total of our Montana Relief Fund to almost $250,000.
To make sure that seniors and children knew where their next meals were coming from, to make sure that providers had the equipment that they needed to safely treat our patients across the state of Montana. So we just really wanted to be able to invest in the community organizations like the Montana Community Foundation, who are the experts on the front lines of dealing with this pandemic.
The Rebound Montana Relief Fund now sits at more than $246,000. That includes the generous $100,000 contribution from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Montana, plus $146,300 from viewers like you, along with matching funds from AMB West Philanthropies and MTN. Meanwhile, Great Falls residents in need of fresh produce will be able to pick up a 25-pound box of free of charge this Thursday. The Salvation Army of Great Falls was selected as a regional partner to host the Farmers to Families event, which will take place each week through October. Drivers can line up in the Holiday Village Mall upper parking lot beginning at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Boxes include things like potatoes, apples, bell peppers, and yams. Produce is purchased and provided under the Coronavirus Farm Assistance Program. There are no qualifications or income requirements to receive a box. The event will run until 6 p.m. or while supplies last. Well, Helena police are looking for your help in finding a missing teen who could be in danger. A missing and endangered person advisory was issued for 15-year-old Evelyn Williams early this morning. According to the advisory, Williams has a history of violent tendencies and may be suicidal. She has brown hair and hazel eyes. She stands 5 feet 6 inches tall, weighs about 100 pounds. Authorities say she was last seen wearing a black and green AC/DC t-shirt and ripped blue jeans. She may be hitchhiking to Wyoming. If you know where she is, you're asked to call Helena Police or 911. With the unofficial start to summer come and gone, it was a busy one for the Helena, Lewis and Clark National Forest. Officials say developed campgrounds around the forest were at capacity over the holiday weekend. They say shortly after the National Forest Recreation staff opened gates to campgrounds in the Lincoln Ranger District, people were piling in looking for the perfect spot.
Friday morning on the 22nd, right before the holiday weekend, and he had the gates open at 7:30, and the campgrounds were filling up right after that. You know, people were traveling in and ready to set up their camp and enjoy their weekend.
For shared facilities like picnic tables, bathrooms, and water spigots at campsites and day-use areas, the National Forest has no clear-cut way to sanitize the facilities and is relying on the public using the facilities to practice their best sanitizing habits before and after using them.
We cannot guarantee a COVID-free environment for our public. We do encourage our public to bring, extra toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and of course there's soap and water to wash their hands, and just follow those kind of basic hygiene standards.
Well, today was a good day to head out to the forest or just about anywhere in the great outdoors. Mostly dry for many of us. Grant Garland joins us more now to tell us more about the sunny conditions. Grant?
That's right, Tim. We were able to see a really beautiful Wednesday, so happy hump day, everybody. We are this much closer to Friday. We have been looking at Mostly dry conditions like Tim said. We are seeing just a stray shower though that is trying to make its way towards Hinsdale, Malta, and it just left Fort Belknap. So heads up, we could be looking at a few sprinkles there. But other than that, I mean, temperatures 71 degrees right now in Great Falls, 74 in Helena, out towards Havre 62 degrees and 66 in Lewistown. And in fact, 71 was our high today in Great Falls. The average is around 68, so yeah, not too bad of a flux, but our record was set back in 1936. It must have been a hot year that year. We've had a lot of records that year when it was 95 degrees just when a house was under $4,000 to buy. How about those apples? High temperatures today was 71, 75 in Helena, and 66 in Lewistown, and 65 in Havre. Now, warmer temperatures are on the way, but how warm will we get tomorrow? Well, we're going to talk about all that and more in a few minutes, but for now, back to you, Tim.
Thanks, Grant. Coming up, meet a Montana original. She's a self-taught artist who explains how the beauty of the Treasure State inspires her.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. The 5:30 news continues on Montana's News Leader.
Welcome back. If COVID-19 didn't give you enough inspiration to enjoy the outdoors this spring, perhaps a trip to an art exhibit in Fairfield will. MTN's Isaiah Dunk has the story.
At 3 years old, Bonnie Dale watched her mother painting pink roses on Valentine's for local teachers. She's been inspired to be an artist ever since.
I found a box of crayons. We always had something like that around, and I decided I was going to decorate the wall. That was my first experience at painting Mother's wall.
Dale grew up in a family with 17 children on a ranch near the Sun River. Her father was a game warden, instilling her with a love of animals. Dale added sculpting to her skill set in middle school and eventually embarked on an art career over 4 decades.
Living on the ranch like that and being around Mom and Dad both, they loved animals. I grew up loving them.
And now, for the first time in years, a large amount of her work is on display at the Big Sky Pottery and Art Gallery in Fairfield. Gallery owner Andy Watson said it's been a joy to watch his gallery come to life with Dale's art. More often than not, she gave her pieces away. Most of what's on display is on loan from local owners, but some simply couldn't give up their pieces.
When you have something of Bonnie Dale, it bespeaks of the love of nature that only somebody who grew up and spent every day of her childhood, where your formative years are, could start breathing that in, and it becomes a part of their system.
But there's one piece on display near and dear to Dale that she could never part with. It's one of her mom's favorite spots on the Sun River.
I love my mother. She was my best friend. And we sit there on the bank and visited. That was our last, just one-on-one visit together. And I painted that thinking of Mom and put the roses where we sat.
In Fairfield, Isaiah Dunk, MTN News.
Well, good news, Dale's exhibit was scheduled to end on May 31st, but Watson said he plans on extending it to June 15th.
That last piece started making me tear up. That was really good. I love my mom too. We're going to see temperatures warming up greatly into what we expect in July this weekend. We'll have all that and more coming up right after this break. Welcome back, everybody. I hope that you have had a great hump day. We are this much closer to Friday, so you know what? Let's go ahead and get started. 71 degrees right now in Great Falls, out towards Helena. A little bit warmer at 74. A lot cooler, though, up in Cut Bank and out towards Lewistown, looking at temperatures right around that 66-degree mark. Elsewhere, 67 in Glasgow, 72 in Jordan. Let's see, head on down towards Butte, 71 and 76 in Missoula. Now, today in Helena, we did reach a high of 76 degrees. Does not quite quite beat, though, the record set back right around 1936 when it was 90 degrees, very warm back in 1936. We must have had a huge heat wave. We have been tracking a stray shower, and it's making its way towards Glasgow. It's right now, it's just leaving Fort Belknap, heading towards Malta as well as Hinsdale. So heads up, light sprinkles are on the way for you guys in Glasgow. Everywhere else, though, is staying dry. So what I've done is I've kind of overlaid this map with these white lines, and that's about 3 miles up in the atmosphere. And the reason why we're looking at that is because this is what's going to help us stay mainly dry for the next 24 hours. By 6:30 in the morning, we're going to be looking at mostly sunny skies. That ridge is going to build in, kind of like that rainbow like we talked about last night. As the high pressure does move in, though, we see these little kinks in our rainbow, right? And that allows for some energy in the atmosphere to move. And that's what's going to allow for us to maybe see a stray shower or two on Friday. And we could actually see a few thunderstorms down towards southwestern Montana by around 4:30 in the afternoon. But yeah, those kinks, that's what's going to help allow for some energy to be transported with some moisture to give us some showers on Friday, mainly though towards the southwest. Now, wind speeds aren't that bad. As we head throughout the night, we're going to see them die down to around 5 to 10 miles an hour, some places 10 to 20. But as we go throughout the morning, everything's going to look great. Up towards Glasgow, 5 to 10 miles an hour too. Nothing that's going to stand out to us. By around tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours, Cutbank seeing maybe 10 to 20 mile an hour per hour winds. And our temperatures are really going to be on the rise. It's almost like going up a roller coaster. 81 degrees on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, late July temperatures. So yeah, very warm weekend ahead of us, which brings me to, hey, we're 24 days away from summer. So I know you're excited about that. I am too. Now you can always follow me on Facebook as well as Twitter and on Instagram. I'm on all 3 platforms. As we head throughout the next 12 hours, by 9 p.m., 56 degrees, clear skies, dropping down to around 47 by 3 a.m. And as we wake up tomorrow morning, around 44 degrees by 6 a.m. For Helena, 9 p.m., 64 degrees, drop down to 50 by 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., 47 degrees. Tonight, overall, we're going to be getting down to around 44 in the Electric City, down towards the capital, just a little bit warmer at 46, up towards Havre, 41 degrees. And we're going to be looking at tomorrow's highs, getting up to around 75 in the capital, 73 in Great Falls, 69 in Lewistown, and 72 in Havre. As we head throughout the next several days, notice that we're going to see clouds building in each and every day. Mostly cloudy day on Saturday with a stray few thunderstorms. 87 on Saturday, 88 on Sunday. Slight chance for showers and thunderstorms on Monday. And then we're going to pick back up a better chance for showers and thunderstorms on Tuesday with temperatures around 80 degrees. And for our friends in Helena, we're going to see a better chance for showers and thunderstorms on Friday. Saturday, also mostly cloudy. Sunday breaks in the clouds, a few of them. And then Monday as well into Tuesday, clouds build back up for some showers. Tim?
Thanks, Grant. And when we come back on a roll, again, BMX action is getting back on track.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. The 5:30 news continues on Montana's news leader.
The Electric City BMX track reopened last week with social distancing and sanitation guidelines in place. And as MTN's Tom Wiley shows us, racers couldn't wait to get back on 2 wheels.
The Electric City BMX track is open for business. Races started last week and turnout is at an all-time high.
This has been the most people I've seen come out to the track in all the years I've been racing. I've been racing since I was 8 years old. I think people are really looking for something to do and get outdoors finally.
As racers line up at the gates, there is one person who stands out against the many young competitors.
And I don't know if you know it or not, 16-year-old kid's pretty fast.
So do you race against a 16-year-old?
Oh yes, okay, and they beat me.
80-year-old Charlie Roselle took up the sport last July as a way to stay in shape for vintage motorcycle racing, and a return to the track amid uncertainty surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic was a huge relief for the retired educator.
Because all my vintage races are canceled, all my winter ones. The next one I'll have is in Lewiston, Idaho, and that's not until June 14th, so I'll have a lot of racing here before then.
Though Roselle might look out of place amongst his peers, he's exactly where he belongs.
What's really fun is to be connected to the young kids again in a competitive nature, which very few people get to see that. I mean, how many of us really ever think you'd compete against like an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old, you know? And it's kind of an equalizing factor.
We got kids 5 years old up to guys 79 years old that race out here, and we have a great community.
Tom Wiley, MTN News.
There are races at the track every Tuesday and Thursday and every other Sunday. For more information, you can find this story on our website. We'll be right back with a final check of weather.
Well, as we head out tonight, temperature's going to drop to the mid-40s, but that's going to be long gone by the time we hit the weekend. 87 degrees with temperatures in the 50s as our lows for a lot of us. And we're going to introduce a chance for showers, mainly for Helena on Friday, but still all is the same. Temperatures warming up to the mid to upper 80s this weekend.
Finally, real quick, the Georgia Aquarium in Atlanta has announced the birth of its newest beluga whale. Staff at the aquarium say the calf was born Sunday, May 17th to its mother, 20-year-old Whisper. At birth, the newborn weighed 174 pounds, measured 5 feet 4 inches long, and we're told that mother and calf are both doing well.
I wish I weighed that much.
Me too. I got a goal to shoot for. That's all the time we have. We'll see you back at 10.